Welcome to the PHAROS FIT podcast, where we help you to explore your capacity to move better, push further, and achieve your limitless potential through fitness, nutrition, recovery, and lifestyle.
But everybody tells you that it's hard. Everybody tells you that making it is hard. Like, you already know that. What I'm here to tell people is that it's possible, right?
Right.
Like, I didn't know anybody in New York. Like, I didn't, like, there's no, if I can do it, there's really no science to it. But I stayed, these massive open calls. You stand in line in the cold for 6 hours for the hope that 5 minutes in a room will change your life.
Hey guys, welcome to the PHAROS FIT podcast. Good to be back with you guys again. I'm here with Brandon, my producer. Hey Brandon, how you doing?
Good to be back in California. Big
Nice.
day today, yeah.
Where you been?
I was in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, all that stuff. Yeah. Got to deal with that stuff.
Is something going on in Florida right now, or in the past couple of days? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Long story short,
I've been in Palm Springs. I've been in Palm Springs, just hiding under a rock. Yeah.
Yeah, and these sweet tones that you can hear are the voice of Arturo Castro, the Arturo Castro.
Oh wow! Yeah. Thank you for having me, fake Joe Rogan. Really.
That's good.
This is what my
That's
career has come
the
to.
way
I mean,
he's funny. Yeah, real peak.
this is really as good as it gets.
Now, a very small niche amount of people in this country will know who you are.
Yes.
Most people.
Most related to me. Yes. Most of them are.
So let's tell everybody who you are and what you do and why you're on my podcast.
I've been asking myself this ever since I sat down. I'm Arturo Castro. I am aspiring trapeze artist, fashion connoisseur of very, very short jorts. No, I'm an actor, a producer, and a writer. I got my break. I'm from Guatemala. Then I started doing theater in New York. Then my first sort of break was Broad City. Then Narcos, then my own show, Alternatino, and then Lady and the Tramp, and then, the list goes on. Not very long. not much longer after that.
But you've just officially moved to LA from New York, right?
Accidentally moved to Los Angeles,
right.
Yeah. You
It's
fuckers
now...
got me with your sunshine and your matcha lattes. You broke down my New York defenses with it, yeah. Yeah, I lived in New York for 15 years, and I was out here shooting the show I'm doing for Apple TV called Mr. Corman with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which I'm really excited about because he's a wonderful dude. And then pandemic hit. And I was renting this house out here, and I was like, might as well just extend it, The house has a really pretty garden, and it just really gave me a lot of peace. So then I convinced the lady to sell it to me very recently. My first home ever, man. That's so crazy.
Man.
Thanks so much, man. I lived in a converted storage space basement in New York City for 6-7 years. I didn't fucking mind it, to be honest. Like, I could afford it, It was $650 a month, and I didn't have a roommate, and it was just like, the amount of imagination that it brings trying to get yourself out of it.
It's great when you're young and
fuck it, like who cares? Like, whenever I tell that story, people are like, oh my god, was it hard? And you're like, not really.
Yeah.
That's all. First of all, that's all you know, and second of all, yeah, I get to be in this amazing city and do what I love for a living, and even if I wasn't making money at the time.
Yeah, but like I said, it's great when you're young, but when
I'm old as I am, I've come to understand that. Yeah, like hustling in New York City definitely feels like a young man's game. I mean, you can do it forever, and I love the city, and I'll always love it. But yeah, it feels like if I want to start building a family. I just want to be closer to Pieter and his jorts.
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this. So, how can I put this politely?
He's touching his beard like repeatedly and making direct eye contact. It's very uncomfortable.
I can confirm.
Uninterrupted. There's no fucking blinking.
You grew up like, I don't want to say chubby.
Oh yeah,
but like kind of chubby, right?
Oh yeah,
but now you're a lean fit guy now. Like, what was the point? Like, how late did you leave it before you were like, I should probably get?
I just started today. I decided not to be a chubby guy today. I was chubby up until I was like 13. I really, this is not even a joke, but I had like I developed boobs before any of my female classmates did.
Right.
I was like, yeah,
right.
It was really weird because like it was. Some kids are chubby, but it's just sort of proportionally chubby. I was sort of like chubby in my chest and like in like parts of my gut. It was quite deformed.
Was that just from bad food when you were younger? Or
I was obsessed with whole milk my entire life. I would like drink liters of that shit. To the point where like there was instructions in my house not to let me drink more than a liter a day, and I would like there'd be full on showdowns at the fridge of me trying to like chug milk.
So it wasn't junk food; it was like literally just.
It was milk. I mean, it wasn't really junk food. It was just tons of milk and sort of milk related products that I was just obsessed with.
And was it a role that made you get in shape, or was it just like
the first time I got in proper? I mean, I stretched out at 14 to all of 5'9" stature. So I didn't stretch out a very long way, but like
towering.
Yeah, towering. I was just towering over most people in Guatemala actually. I am a tall king guy.
Yeah.
But the first time I really got in shape was I did this film with Ang Lee called. Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, and we trained with the Navy SEALs for a month. It was fucking brutal, but like it was just accidentally you got big, but then after the movie, I just sort of used to you have the sort of same frame, but like it just sort of turned fat. Right. And then I was doing this show for HBO called Room 104, and I'm naked the entire episode. And it's just me in a room.
That's that was great, by the way.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, it was really challenging, and it was really. I'm like, how do you? It's sort of for people that don't know, it's sort of like Black Mirror, where every episode is its new own story, but it all takes place in this one room, motel room called Room 104.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I kind of took you seriously.
I'm still waiting for that moment for myself. I'm like, but anyway, so I was gonna be naked the entire time, and the character, it was just a very challenging performance piece. And I just didn't want to think about angles or like sitting down anyway. Like, I just didn't want to be self-conscious about my body at all. I didn't really make a lot of money at the time. So, not that I do now, trust me, like Pieter owns everything I have. But so I convinced this trainer to train me for very little money. But, I was going to hook him up with Vice News, their health division. And so we did. It was 7 days a week. Changed my diet, took out sugar. Yeah. But it proved to me like it's almost like a high, isn't it? Right. Like when you really commit to something, I didn't know I could do it. And the difference was just, in 3 weeks we got in decent shape.
Now, do you feel that pressure from Hollywood? Do you feel the pressure to be in better shape, to look better, to have a certain amount of muscle? Is it something, I mean, you're not a leading man kind of role guy. You're more of a struggling comedian who plays like everyone's best friend. But like
the guy hanging in the background, me like trying to get the girl. Always the bridesman, never the bride. I'm working on it, Pieter. I don't feel the pressure to again, because I'm not for the most part doing action films or whatever. Even though I played like military more times than you think.
Right, yeah.
I think that's because there's just a huge Latin population in the military, so that sort of reflects itself in the films. But I don't feel this pressure to like look cut or to, but I don't want to, a lot of people from back home or like people I grew up with, they're my age and they just sort of, they don't really take care of themselves.
Right, they don't look healthy. They
don't know. And so for me, it's less about vanity and more about like how I feel. And working out for me, it's like at least you get one success a day.
Yeah.
If no matter what happens in your day, you achieved the goal. And your endorphins are pumping and you just feel good.
Well, I also think like in Hollywood, because Hollywood, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on, but at least when you come to the gym, it's like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. There's you can't like, nobody's talking, you can't talk to the weights about a script that's about to pop off. You can't tell them about how big your, you can't talk bullshit. That's what it is,
That's what it is. I think it's a nice like grounding place.
And it's an equalizer, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, you as a Guatemalan man in Hollywood, I mean, as you always tell me, you're pretty much considered the Brad Pitt of Guatemala.
I don't really talk to you that much. I don't know where you get this from. This is the first time.
Good title to have.
More than a sentence.
How does it feel to be a Guatemalan man in Hollywood? Like, because there aren't that many, right?
There aren't that many, but you would be like, I am really sort of proud of the fact that there's, for being such a small country, there's some incredible talent that's come out of like this kid Tony Rebolori. He was in the Grand Budapest Hotel and then Spider-Man, and then Oscar Isaac, he's Guatemalan too. Like you don't really hear like I don't know many actors from particularly like 3 in a row from El Salvador doing the thing, which leads me to believe that Guatemala is this mine of talent. But like when you're worried about what you're gonna feed your kid, like acting is seen, it's not a viable work choice, And so one of the big goals that I have is to open up schools in Guatemala where you send your kids, they get fed, and after lunch you can study one of the arts, right? Because imagine how many incredible people we can find if you take away.
But you already started doing that, right? You already started investing.
I've opened up a few computer labs in places where there was no internet before for all girls schools all across the sort of like the countryside of Guatemala.
Sweet.
That's great, dude.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, dude, like my whole life philosophy is like I can't fucking believe that I get to do what I love to do for a living, and then
I can't believe it
either. It's a shock every day, but I don't think that it's A, I'm doing it alone, or B, I believe in recycling of good fortune. I think fame for fame's sake is fucking empty. Like, go start an OnlyFans account. Sorry to everybody that has an OnlyFans account, but like, you know what I'm saying? I think you have to make it about something bigger than yourself, because then the small trip ups along the way aren't as, they don't hurt as much because it's not about you. All of life is fucking realizing that it's not about you,
Right.
And so putting it back out into the universe or into helping people is what really drives the career.
Do you think, has it been, under the last 4 years with, obviously the immigration issues and everything that's happened, has it been harder for, immigrant actors to get jobs, do you think, or not really?
I mean, I haven't found that to be the case. What it is it does feel like a community under siege, right? Like it feels now more than ever like the importance of representation is essential,
right.
Because you have people in political platforms sort of demonizing or dehumanizing people that look like you. You're kind of, and so if we keep sort of feeding like the gang member image or the into mainstream, then you're just sort of reinforcing the stereotype. So to me, it's sort of I found that among immigrant actors, there's been this need to drive this humanizing force forward.
Yeah, and we are sitting here today, kind of on the brink of a new president. Hopefully.
Wait, what?
Wait,
what?
So
I voted for the libertarian guy, so I don't the libertarian girl. So
yeah, I was gonna say
lady. Sorry, pardon me. I don't even know her name. What's her name?
Joe Jorgensen.
Joe Jorgensen. Okay, cool.
So hopefully things are about to change.
So I voted for the wrong Joe.
Yes, the wrong Joe.
Just kidding. I can't vote. I'm an immigrant.
Right?
I am not even a resident. Truly. You just got your green card.
Yeah, I just got my green card.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, you've been acting like a boy that grew up in Nebraska, dressing like a Nebraska farmhand for years.
Well, that's why they gave me the green card.
Yeah. They looked at your Instagram and they're like,
yeah, we'll take this guy.
Yeah.
That was my plan all along. Now, you've had a couple of jobs during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how's that been? Has it completely changed? Is it
strange? But the resilience of humans coming together to create something, it never ceases to amaze me.
Right?
Yeah, of course it's hard and it's strange. It goes by sections, who can interact with who, and you get these 15-minute COVID tests. But
and you get tested daily, or?
I mean, I've done one-offs, so it's
right.
I just get
on the day, kind of.
Yeah. But or you have to present proof of COVID test even 24 hours before you get on set. But more than anything, I've noticed the excitement of people being around each other again and working and
right. Yeah,
creating.
that was my real question. Like, did you feel that buzz again, that excitement of people getting back to work? And
100%, because you like. This is a huge part of my identity, right? Like a huge part of my human interactions come from my work.
Yes.
And a huge part of like what fills me on this. On a set, you have 1,000 interactions a day,
Right.
And when you go from 1,000 to zero,
just me. Basically.
Yeah, just talking to Pieter, you're fucked. Like half the time I can't he's just talking about Yellowstone all the time. It's really hard to get a word in edgewise. You lull him to sleep by saying Kevin Costner really slowly, like ASMR Kevin Costner. It's wonderful, and we're going to New Zealand to keep shooting the show with Joseph Gordon-Levitt because they've sort of eradicated COVID, and we can shoot with a large number of extras, and I just can't wait to
it's gonna be amazing.
I'm gonna lick every doorknob just out of pure rebellion.
Just because you can.
I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring back the hand kissing to say hello to people just in New Zealand. Madam, sorry.
Awesome. Yeah, that's going to be great, New Zealand, man. You're going to have a great time there. It's going to be a beautiful country. It's going to be like.
I'm a little concerned because I've during the pandemic, my body's really, really changed, right? I've been training with Pieter, and it's my New York trainers. Really, the merit goes all to my New York trainer, but Pieter's been there somehow. And well, we decided to work out, and it's just really changed. But we have to keep the continuity from what I looked like before.
Right.
Pandemic. So I'm just gonna drink a lot of milk all of December, and I think I'll be fine. Yeah.
Back on that milk and Nutella.
Back on that milk, yeah. Nutella.
Arturo is a very famous Nutella addict.
I love it. Do you know they sent me a big custom-made sort of tub of Nutella with my name on it last year?
Is that true?
Yeah, that's when I really knew.
That's when you made it.
Yeah, that's when I finally
It's a good
knew.
measure.
Yeah.
So going back to like you, where you are in your career and how you became who you are right now, what do you think are your driving motivations? What was your real catalyst to do what you do?
A couple of things. One, this sort of sense of unbridled optimism. You know,
Right.
I've always just believed that you can. You know,
Where did that come from, you think?
Everybody in my family is a professional in they're all academics or psychiatrists or doctors or, and I'm the only one.
So everyone else has a real job.
Has a real job, yeah. And so I think I'm the youngest of four, and I grew up in a household where I think when people can't understand you because you're choosing this sort of art, all they can do is sort of love you and support you. And I grew up really in a household where, particularly in a very macho-centric place like Guatemala, where being vulnerable was it was a good trait. It was a strength. I grew up with women, and they were very strong, but also could be empathetic. Empathy was a big thing in my house. So by the time I got to the States and started auditioning, I knew I didn't know who I was, but I just knew that I deserved someone's time.
Right.
That's number one, and number two, that I've always approached it like there is no plan B. Like if there's something you'd rather go do it, because it's really, really hard, right? But everybody tells you that it's hard. Everybody tells you that making it is hard. Like you already know that. What I'm here to tell people is that it's possible, right?
Right.
Like I didn't know anybody in New York. Like I didn't. Like there's no. If I can do it, there's really no science to it. But I stayed. These massive open calls. You stand in line in the cold for 6 hours for the hope that 5 minutes in a room will change your life, and that sort of work ethic, that hustle, that I don't know how I would have done it in LA, to be honest, but in New York I just knew how to approach it, or I could just walk there. But so it was I guess it's been my sense of optimism and my drive.
And where do you get? You have a really good balance between the kind of the masculine and the feminine, right? I mean, you do
at all times, yes.
Yeah. Where did that come from? How do you?
My family, I grew up with a single mom of four, and I mean my dad was around, but I mostly grew up, with them, and sort of was into the things that they were into, and then when I got to my teenage years, I moved to a school that was like macho boys, and like sort of like learned that side of life.
Was that hard for you?
At first, it was weird because I'm like, I've never gone in a fight before. Like, like everybody's like, we want to play sports. And I'm like, what time is theater, guys? Like, what? Sorry, are we gonna? Sorry, I hear you're saying soccer, but I think you want to say watch the Titanic for the 7th time in the movie theater. What? I'm sorry, there's a discrepancy here. It was weird at first, but eventually I just acted like it. Like, you
played a role.
I played the role. It was weird before I found sort of like a name for it. That's what I was doing. I was like, I think therefore I am, and so I started sort of acting tough, and then eventually you just toughen up a little bit, But I never tried to be inherently mean, which I think is a part of being a real badass in Guatemala. Was particularly in this school, you have to like be a bit of a sadist, and I just never had that trait.
Right.
But I learned how to smoke and ride motorcycles and talk to girls and get in fights and stuff, and it was really formative. But I just quit smoking last year, so thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Colegio El Puente, wherever you are. Yeah, it was weird, but that's where I get sort of my double personality from.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's so important right now to be able to, move in those two directions and have that balance.
I just don't know another way to approach it. I think it would be miserable to just have one or
the Narcos role was pretty masculine, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Broad City one was very feminine, so that was a good and you went from Broad City to Narcos, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I don't even know if the Broad City is feminine. It's so much as it's based on a real person, right? Abby's best friend Jaime, and what I infused in him was the sense of wide-eyed wonder that I had when I first moved to the States, where everything is like, oh my goodness, this is so magical, And I had an accent when I first moved, And with David and Narcos, he's a ruthless, bad guy sort of thing. But I had to find some humanizing quality in him in order to play him. Otherwise, you're like, yeah. And so he was just trying to protect his dad. He was trying to protect his family, right? And he killed a bunch of people to do that. But like this was like the one thing I could find in common with.
You think people were surprised that you were so good at that?
100%. Yeah. Well, I came up in dramatic, gritty New York theater. But my first break was Broad City, so people didn't know sort of that I had this dramatic side. And I was very lucky not to just get typecast in doing comedy forever. And Narcos helped a lot. That movie that I did with Ang Lee, it tanked horribly at the the box office. But when Narcos casting heard that I had done it, they're like, "Oh, that's a drama with this Academy Award winning director. Like, we'll give him a chance."
Right.
And that's how I got it. But I was very lucky that those two things were coming out at the same time, because people were just confused as to who the fuck I am.
Yeah, but it was a smart move. I mean, it's great to show that, like, that diversity and that. It's testament to your talent, right? That you can do those both things so successfully.
I think you're thinking Wilmer Valderrama. Like, who the fuck are you talking about? You're like, I love doing that 70s show. Is that? I can see the questions from here. I wasn't in that 70s show. Yes,
but because a lot of people do get typecast in roles, obviously, and it's good that you fairly early on in your career you were able to show those two like polarizing.
Yeah, that's my whole jam right now too. It's sort of like, if you're a storyteller first, you just want to whatever you're involved with, you just want it to be worth the audience's time, right? Because I'm an audience member first.
Right.
And so whether it's a drama, horror, comedy, satire, whatever it is, I just want it to be quality. I want it to be a challenge. I wanted you to... I think there's this covenant between you and the audience, right? That they're spending their time, they're spending their money to watch your work. The very least you owe them is to leave a little blood in the water. Yeah, you know? Yeah,
for sure.
And there's parts of my sort of innocence that we'll never get back from doing... from researching and interviewing like narco hitmen, but that's the covenant. You have to dirty it up.
What you're talking about is, I think that's a fairly rare quality in Hollywood now, because I don't think a lot of people think that way.
Oh,
there's a lot of entitlement and a lot of
you know what what I've also understood about when people come up to you on the street or whatever, is that it's such a... You have been in their homes, in their laptop, like in their rooms when there's no makeup or you're hungover or whatever. You've been in a place where they're very vulnerable, and in what they want whenever they interact with you, the ice is broken from there, so they feel like they know you, right?
Right.
And I feel like the least you owe them is a couple minutes of your time to be like, hey, I see you too. Everybody's just trying to be like, oh my God, I shared this experience, unilateral experience with you, and you didn't even know it. This is what happens when you come up to an actor or whatever. And like, I think I really get a kick out of being like, hey, thank you so much. This is great, because this is my...
Do you think that's going to be difficult though when someone like Will Smith...
When it's hordes of people?
Yes. Will Smith, like when Will Smith was at his peak, I knew he could like walk down the street without like just getting like...
100%. And there's, there's been instances, particularly with when we did the gay pride parade, we had a float, which was one of the best days of my life, dude. Like, it looked like Broad City had a float gay pride in New York City, and the whole thing was closed down, and the gay community has been so welcoming to the show, and it was just all love. But when we were leaving, people wanted to say hi to the girls and whatever, and it was just like sort of very crowded, and I was like, oh, this would have feel like, and I was like, guys, I'm here, and nobody came to me, and that was embarrassing. But yes, I don't think you'll have time to interact with everybody that interacts with you, but if you do have a moment of interaction, just make sure to remember that where they're coming from and who put you there. Yeah. They're the reason, right? Like,
right, for sure.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that you have to like go to everybody's house and like high five them, particularly, like every single person, but you just can't have stories of you being a dick, because then you're gonna shatter. Yeah, I am a dick completely, but just to you, Pieter.
But I think it's the ability to stay humble with, as successful as you become, the ability to stay humble is a real quality that I admire in people. And
well, that has to do a lot with you, Pieter, because you just call me a shit actor every day, so it's like my ego can't rise above us, right? Yeah.
But I mentioned Will Smith before, and when I met Will, I saw that in him. He was a real humble guy. Like, he's as successful as he was and as good as he was. Right. Like, just super nice, super humble.
How often do you mention that you know Will Smith?
Like, I don't know.
How often do you
fortunate enough to meet him.
Conversation?
He wouldn't remember.
So when me and Will, I call him.
He wouldn't remember my name. Put it that way. But.
Yeah, I just think otherwise, like, if you like start listening to the noise or start believing the noise of
Yes.
yourself, or like then you've lost, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll do my best to keep you grounded.
Thank you very much. I have a Latin grandmother that's like just waiting to. My friends, my friends I grew up with or I came up with in New York, all have a going pool about who's gonna punch me in the face if I ever turn into a douche, and they really want that money. Like it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's going up to like $200 by now. So they were like, and I'm like, you don't have to like threaten me physically. Like I'm okay. But between my mom and my family and my friends, like it's just
keep
good
you
to,
honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just good to remember where you came from and why you're doing it.
So we've got the James Gordon-Levitt thing coming up in New Zealand at the end of this year.
His name is Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Sorry,
James.
Joseph
I don't know who the fuck James is, but get it right.
Sorry, Joseph.
Can I tell you a funny story about Joe real quick?
Yeah.
So he called me to tell me that, you know, we're shutting down for the pandemic, you know, and I guess I just woken up, you know, from a nap because we'd been shooting night shoots, and I was like, so I was mumbling, I guess. So I was like, okay, man, yeah, understood. All right, well, later, dude. I said, and he's like, oh, I love you too. He thought I told him that I loved him because he heard like, oh, hey, later, Joe. He's like, yeah, I guess I love you too, man. And I'm like, and I didn't want to take it back because I was like embarrassed. Like I was like, I didn't want to embarrass him, but I was like,
oh god.
And I'm like, I do love the guy, but I wasn't ready to say.
You wouldn't say the words. And, have you talked about it since?
Hey, I just don't. No, we have not talked about it.
And now does he always?
Now I have to open up with, hey, Joe, I love you. How's it going? You know, like now I'm just doubling down on it.
There's a lot of love on that set.
I love that guy.
That set. So beyond that, like, what would be like your hopes, your dreams for the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see Arturo Castro in these next?
I would like, in very broad terms, to obviously to grow the platform so that I can shine it on things that I care about, particularly representation, etc. But in broad strokes, it's I want, if you see my name attached to a project, either as a director, or writer, or producer, or an actor, you know it's going to be worth your time. You know, it's just sort of develop that taste, that trust with the audience, that like whatever comes from my company is going to be, or from my camp or whatever, is going to be worth your time. So really honing that voice is what I'm looking forward to, and playing on all sets, on all sides of the coin. Like I want to keep surprising people with what you can do, and to challenge myself too.
Right.
So I want to do the big blockbusters paired with the
TV
gritty indie drama. You know.
Are you gonna do a rap album?
A rap album, yeah. And eventually, if all else fails, I'll just have a podcast here with you. Like this is like we're just gonna host the faux Rogan experience.
I did notice. I did notice that I didn't figure into your 5 to 10 year plan.
Oh yeah, we'll keep working. Like by this point, it's so funny because like by this point, you have been my human interaction, like one of my first human interactions during quarantine, and so. You're accidentally one of the closest people to me, which is like one of the most fucking
it's a horrifying
thoughts. I'm like,
sorry, dude.
I'm sorry too. Like I can't wait to hang out with other people. It's gonna be great.
So true. Oh my god. Well, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks
really
so much for having me.
It was I think you're a busy guy, so I appreciate the time.
I gotta say something about you and your gym though. In all honesty, it's first of all, like people think that gyms are sort of this vanity thing, but it's not. Like I think Pharos in particular has created the sense of purpose in my life, and I know in a lot of people's life. But what I gotta give you props for is you've been handed the shitty end of the stick all year, man. And I've seen you pivot and not let that break you, and not let that break your spirit, and not let that break your gym. And it's really admirable, dude. Like
thanks, brother.
I'm really proud of you for that.
Yeah, I mean,
your fashion sense is shit, but like your heart is in the right place. No, but I mean that.
You're saying that because you haven't seen my full Kevin Costner my full wardrobe.
I mean that, dude. This would have broken a lesser person. It would have broken them a long time ago.
I mean, I've said this on previous podcasts. I'm fortunate that we have a great team here, and I mean that like wholeheartedly. Like my team here have been so good, and we've been so fortunate, and people have been so supportive. So I'm lucky. I have a great family and a great team. So.
You didn't have to brag that hard, but like, yeah, cool. Were you gonna say? And among them, my favorite, Will Smith. He's in my closest of circles. Thank you guys so much for having me. See you next time.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate it. Take care. Bye. Okay, guys, that is it for today. Thanks for listening in. Don't forget to check us out at Pharos Park on Instagram. We are at 1316 Glendale Boulevard in Echo Park. If you want to stop by and give us a visit, we are currently obviously outdoor training, but we do have memberships available. And yeah, we hope to see you guys soon. I hope you guys stay safe out there, and better times are ahead. Catch you soon. Take care. Bye.